Hello and welcome to Fisher Football Focus. I'm your host, James Bailey. This past Saturday, the Cardinals took on the Utica College Pioneers. The Cardinals had never lost in the all-time series, leading Utica 14-0 all-time. Coming off a big last-minute win over Morrisville, Fisher was looking to win back-to-back games for the first time all season. Let's take a look at the highlights.
The game was a thrill from play one. Utica's Teddy Van Galen completes a pretty 53-yard pass to Gregory Palmer, but Fisher's Brandon Fuentes forces the ball out, and Jeffrey Carlin would pounce on it, giving the Cardinals early possession. Later in the quarter, quarterback Matt Nathan would plunge in for an early Cardinals touchdown. A blocked extra point would leave the score at 6-0 Cardinals. On their next possession, Van Galen would go deep again, this time connecting with Alex DeRusso to get down to the 1-yard line and set up his own quarterback sneak touchdown. Utica would go up 7-6. Nathan would not be outdone, as he would connect with running back Tony Fusco on this screen pass. Fusco would take it all the way 41 yards to the house to putting the Cardinals back up 13-7. Then, early in the second, Fusco would keep on grinding. Here he breaks off a 46-yard run to get the Cardinals close to the end zone, and then later he would finish it off with his own 2-yard touchdown. That would be the last score of the half, and the Cardinals would walk into the locker room up 20-7. Then, early in the third quarter, with Fisher driving again, Nathan would force a pass that he would regret. Matthew McCoy of Utica would pick him off and bring it all the way back 76 yards for a pick six and close the gap down to 20-14. Later in the third, Nathan would make up for his mistake, finding last weekend's hero, Nathan Nagolian, over the top for a 59-yard touchdown. Another failed extra point would lead the score at 26-14. But Van Galen wouldn't let Utica go away, finding Jared Beniquez for a 22-yard score, cutting it back down to 26-21 heading into the fourth. But Nathan would have none of it, fighting Nagolian again to stretch the lead back out to 32-21. On Utica's next possession, Fisher's defensive stud, Alec Moralero, would set the Cardinals up to ice the game, forcing and recovering another Palmer fumble. But Fisher would give it right back on this trick play gone wrong as running back James Chambers throws an interception on a halfback pass. Utica would score again late, but it wouldn't prove enough as the Cardinals would pull out a 32-27 victory to keep the all-time streak alive. Nathan ended up with 256 yards passing and 4 total touchdowns. Fusco and Nagolian also came up huge for the Cardinals. The win improved Fisher to 3-3 on the season and 3-2 in the Empire 8.
After the break, I'll be joined by head coach Paul Vosberg, so stay here.
Weight loss, it's one of the many ways to fight osteoarthritis pain. For more information on managing pain, go to fightarthritispain.org.
Welcome back to Fisher Football Focus, joined now yet again by head coach Paul Vosberg. So coach, the very first offensive play of the game, your team gives up a 53-yard pass, but then forces and recovers a fumble. So I'm sure that was a big 10-second mood swing for you. But what kind of tone do you think that set for the game, forcing the turnover on the very first play?
Well, I think it helped our kids a lot, and it was unfortunate that we gave up the long pass, but the good thing is they hustled down the field, made a play, and then our offense came on the field and moved the ball a little bit, so that helped us, and I think we started getting more and more confidence in what we were doing, and so that was a big play for us, make a quick turnover after a big play by them.
So you came out to start the second half with a 2-score lead in the ball. You drive down the field, but then you give up a potentially game-changing pick six. Did you talk to Matt when he came over to the sideline, and if so, what'd you say?
No, Matt knew what he did. He knew that he didn't look the guy off at all, and just kind of threw it out there. And there's not a lot to say at that point. In that he just needs to recollect himself. And as a quarterback and any type of athlete, sometimes you got to have a short-term memory that as soon as it's over with, it's over with. Now go to the next play and the next series. And I think Matt did that. He didn't dwell on it. It wasn't a good play. Okay, we know that. All right, now let's go. And he did that.
So early in the fourth quarter, you get the ball in great field position thanks to another Morlero fumble recovery. He had 2 more turnovers this week. Just continues to keep on with a great season. But then you proceed to have the halfback pass where Chambers throws to the end zone and throws an interception. What was the thinking behind that play call? You thinking you catching him off guard and try to put the game away, or?
Well, there's no doubt during that series we thought if we can score during this series, it'll put the game away and so on and so forth. But it's always easy to second guess those calls, and if it's all of a sudden he throws it a little farther, it's a touchdown, so on and so forth. So it was an unfortunate turnover and that. So again, hindsight's always 20/20. Foresight's not real good. So it's a call, and we'll live with it.
Was that the ideal play that you wanted in that situation, throwing a long pass from a guy that doesn't usually throw the ball, or what was the decision from Chambers?
Well, it was just we had already run that play as far as setting it up, and we thought we had it set up.
Okay. So Teddy Van Galen had 335 yards passing, but you limit him to only 1 touchdown. So out of those 2 stats, which one do you look at more moving forward? Giving up a lot of passing yards or holding him out of the end zone?
Holding him out of the end zone. There's a big misleading factor, and one of the best misleading stats in football is passing yardage. And all you got to do is look at last night. Phillip Rivers threw for about 500 yards against the Packers, and they lost the game. And so passing yards can be a really misleading thing, because sometimes you get down there and you can't get in the end zone, and that's what happened. He had some nice yardage throwing the football, but truthfully, they only put 3 scores up on us offensively, I felt that, truthfully, the defense could have held them to 2 scores and so on. I think we kind of aided them on that last score. That last score was, all right, let the clock burn out, keep the ball in front of us. We got 2-score lead and so on. So that last one, okay, they did score, but we get the onside kick, game's over with, and so on. So passing yards, I've seen that happen before. Teams throw for a lot of yards, don't score a lot of points. And that when you only rush for 57 yards for the game, that's a big stat, and that was one our defense won. They held them to 1.8 yards per carry, which means they made them a one-sided football team, and they kept them out of the end zone. They did a great job.
I was going to mention that your defense did a fantastic job shutting them down. Is that just great execution? Is it great play calling, or was it just what do you expect out of your guys?
Well, it's a good job by everybody. I mean, the coaching staff did a good job. Coach Fox called a good game, and the guys on defense, they have to execute the calls. You can make calls as a coach, but your players still have to execute, and that's exactly what our players did. But again, I think Coach Fox and his staff had a good game plan for them and executed the game plan. Utica's a pretty good offensive football team.
So Matt Nathan, Tony Fusco, Nate Nagolian all had really big games. Do you feel that your teams can be stopped if all of your facets are kind of working like that? I mean, offensively, Utica really struggled to slow down both sides, passing in and rushing the ball. So do you think that moving forward, you get that sort of production? You think that your defense can do enough to let you guys win a lot of games?
Oh yeah, if you can keep your defense off the field, then you're helping them out. The more you're on the field offensively, and if you can put some points on the board, the more you're going to help your defense. And all 3 units need to help each other. But yeah, we think if we can get all of our guys on offense firing all at the same time, we can be a pretty good offensive football team.
I didn't notice Tony Fusco ran the ball 26 times. James Chambers only touched it 4 times. Is that a matter of Tony has had the hot hand to keep going to him, or is it a matter of what the defense was giving you?
Well, it's a little bit of that, because James played on. I think we had 62 offensive snaps, and he was on the field for like 52 of those snaps. So he was involved in the play, but because of what they did, sometimes what we were running there was an option play, and one of 3 guys can run the football. Either Tony can run it, the quarterback can run it, or we can pitch it to James. And we didn't pitch it once to James because they didn't take away Tony. So if they weren't taking away Tony, the quarterback did run it once or twice, but we never got the pitch in. So a lot of that has to do with what the defense ended up giving us and the quarterback's reads and what he had to do.
So you have Alfred Straight up next week. Before we talk about next week's game, though, Alfred State's in kind of a tough position. You have to have won a game in their short tenure as a Division III football team. And you've kind of were in that situation in the beginning of your tenure here. So can you kind of sympathize with what they're going through as a coach, having sort of gone through a similar stuff at the beginning of your time here?
Well, yeah, they're building a program. That's what they're doing now. It's a good thing that they've got going for them. They've got a pretty nice facility. They did have. They were not a bad junior college football team. They were a 2-year school for a couple of years, so they got some things going for them. But it's going to take him a while before he gets to be a real competitive Division III football team. And they got some players on their team. I mean, the cupboard isn't completely bare down there. They've got some kids. There's a couple kids playing for them that we recruited and that decided to go to Alfred State instead, and so on. So they're, we better be ready to play.
Yeah, you say all that, but at the same time, you guys did defeat them 61-0 last year. Your common opponent this year was Brockport, who pulled out a 59-7 win over Alfred State. So, on paper, you guys are a superior team. What are you telling your guys to make them not look over this team, though?
Well, our job is, and I think I said it before in the show, was our job is the same week in and week out. Whether you win or lose, your job is to get back after it, get better. And so that hasn't changed. We won. Okay, that's good. Now let's get ready for the next game and let's get better. Let's become a better football team. And so we need to stay with the focus of let's get better week by week, day by day, and then what happens after that.
All right. Well, it's happy to have you on yet again, Coach. Wish you all the best luck this upcoming weekend. Coming up next, defensive end Jake Kulig and offensive lineman Jordan Schofield will be on, so stay with us.
I think someone at my friend's school has this thing called autism. My friend's brother's son has autism. My neighbor's son has autism. My son has autism.
Autism is getting closer to home. Today, 1 in 110 children is diagnosed with autism. That's a 600% increase in the last 20 years. Learn the signs at autismspeaks.org.
Welcome back to Fisher Football Focus, joined now by defensive lineman Jake Kulig and offensive lineman Jordan Schofield. So we'll start with you, Jake. You guys pretty much shut down Utica's rushing attack this week. As a defensive lineman, what kind of confidence boost did it give you to hold a team to 57 rushing yards like you did to Utica?
Well, in the previous games, it was a lot tougher. We gave up an average of about 150 yards. So obviously, our main focus from our defensive coordinator is to stop the run. And obviously, we came out this week and emphasized that we need to shut down the run and make them pass it. And, 57 yards is a great start, but we feel like we have a lot of room to improve, and we can potentially be a better defense.
And so, Jordan, on the flip side, you guys moved the ball fantastically, rushing it. Combined, you guys had over 200 yards rushing. So as an offensive lineman, how does it feel? You guys don't really get a lot of statistical love, but I guess looking at the rushing yards is probably the best gauge of how well you guys played. So what do you think about the last game on that regard?
Well, yeah, we focused all week in practice on staying on track and doing the little things, and we finally came together and started moving the ball on the ground. And Utica played a 4 front, which was a little more simpler than a 3 front, so we were able to pick up the blitzes and locate their linebackers and block them up a lot easier than we have been the past couple weeks.
And talking about statistics, Jake, as a D-end, D-ends typically don't put up the biggest numbers on defense. Like, I know you only put up 1 tackle last week, but there are no more for being a team player and setting the edge and in pressuring the quarterback. So as a defensive end, do you think your personal play is more based on your personal stats, or is how the defense does as a whole?
Well, first of all, the only statistic at the end of the game is obviously the W. Obviously, as my statistics say, 1 tackle. At the end of the day, that really doesn't mean much to me. Obviously a better stat is 57 yards rushing, 7 points at halftime. It's a huge statistic for the defense. So in that regard, I guess, my statistics really don't matter as long as the end result is, we're victorious.
And that's not a knock on you at any point, but do you feel your role is more to do some of the stuff that doesn't get seen on the stat sheet?
Well, I mean, as a defensive lineman, it's it's kind of like the toughest part. The being up front battle. It's the first point of collision between the offensive line and defensive line. So I mean, it's tough. We kind of handle the dirty work, and as some of our coaches say, we make all American linebackers. So.
And so you do feel that seeing Brandon Miller go out and make 13 tackles in a game, you think that reflects more on what you guys did up front?
Yes and no. I mean, I feel like I said, we handle a lot of the things up front to open holes for linebackers, but if he's making plays, it's not solely on us. It goes both ways.
So Jordan, we'll shift back to you. You've had to block for two different quarterbacks this year. You've had Matt Naden and Danny Caton. As an offensive lineman, is it tough to shift between two different quarterbacks? Like, do they have different styles that you kind of have to think a little bit differently about?
Yes, they definitely have two different styles. Danny likes to run the ball more. Matt's more of like a pocket passer. But they both bring the same amount of energy to the huddle. We feel confident in both of them, so we don't get down when one gets injured and the other one has to come in. They both bring a lot of energy, and we are very confident in both of them that they'll get the job done as long as we give them protection and open up holes for them.
You also have two different running backs you have to block for, and Tony Fusco and James Chambers. They too have two different styles. We talked about it on the show. I've had them both on. Tony does a lot more of the up-the-middle stuff, and Chambers does a lot more of the big play sort of stuff. As an offensive lineman, do you have to block a little bit differently for both of them too?
No, not really. Just as long as you pick up your guy and do what you're supposed to do, and the holes open up, they're both good enough to hit the hole and gain quite a bit yards. Tony's, like you said, he's better at staying in between the tackles, and he lets plays develop. And Chambers likes to get out and run, which is great for both of them.
So you guys have both been on this Fisher team. This is both your third years on Fisher. What would you say your favorite game, most memorable game you've played in the program has been so far?
I would have to say the Courage Bowl. I mean, obviously, it's not fun watching film on it and seeing that, you gave up 41 points, but, just how we went through that game, going down 21 or however the score was, 14-0, I think it was, and fighting back and ultimately forcing 2 overtimes. And, I mean, winning on a missed extra point, it doesn't get any crazier than that. So. And
as a player, does it give you more of a confidence boost moving in the next week to win a close game 42-41, or would you rather it be a blowout like 42-0?
I mean, it's the same. At the end of the day, it's all about getting the win. And, a blowout would be nice. There's obviously not a lot of things that point out in film that are bad when you win by 48-0, but winning is the most important thing here.
And Jordan, what's your most memorable game you've played?
That's a good pick, but I have to say the Morrisville game this year was probably my favorite game. Being able to go down the field on the last minute and help our team, lead our team to victory. That was a great win for us, and it was probably my most memorable game.
Had Coach Vosberg on every single week. Usually make all the coaches kind of give their take on Coach, but what are your guys' personal takes on Coach and the coaching staff as a whole here on the team?
I mean, I see, a lot of these coaches as like father figures. We're with each other so much, and we're always around each other watching film or on the practice field or traveling or spending time in hotels together. I mean, it really is like a family atmosphere between all of us, and I know they'd say the same thing about us, and that's what makes this program so special.
Yeah, definitely. It's nice, me personally being 2 hours away from home, it's nice knowing I can pop right into the football office if I have a question, or if I can't get a hold of my parents, I can definitely go down and talk to them, and they'll give me advice, and as they do, and it's a good thing to have.
And so, there's a lot of great leaders on this team too. I've had a few captains on the show, Brandon Miller, Jordan Andrews. So you talk about the coach's leadership. What do you think the player leadership has been on this team? I know you guys are upperclassmen. Jake, you're a senior this year. Jordan, a junior. But what do you feel like as an upperclassman, seeing this program kind of from your beginning days to now? Like, what do you think about the leadership on this team?
Well, I mean, looking at the big picture, I mean, going 0-2 start the season is, devastating for any team. And to have your team rally around and, come back and go 3-1 in those next 4 games, obviously, I meat, that shows a lot about our leadership in the locker room. Jordan Andrews and Brandon Miller and Nate Nagolian, I mean, those guys are just, they really have brought us up from basically nothing to start the season. And we really rallied around each other, and they've been a big part of that.
We had a rough start, and definitely some new guys, some young guys have come up, and they're starting to fill the spots, and we're starting to get together. And being 3-3 right now, it's a good feeling to be 3-3 and a bad feeling to be 3-3. But to know we're still in the hunt for the playoffs, it's great knowing we still have a chance to make something happen.
So, can hopefully keep it rolling on a 2-game win streak. Have Elford State up next. Not a great team on paper, but is there anything you guys are specifically looking at to try to exploit to keep the winning streak going?
I mean, it just comes together as, we need to all come together in this game. We need to play a complete game. I think we've yet to do that. I think offensively and defensively, special teams-wise, we should be able to play our best games and, really identify ourselves as, what we want this season to be.
Mm-hmm. Offensively, we need to run the ball. We did that this past weekend against Utica, and we can't look past this team even though they are 0-6. We just have to have a good week of practice and know what our final goal is, and can't look by it, and hopefully we'll get the win.
All right. Well, thank you very much for both being on. Best of luck to you guys this weekend.
Thank you.
Don't move. Up next, I'll be joined by defensive line coach Nick Brace.
I'm a teacher. Let me tell you what I make. I make learning a privilege, not a chore, and frustration a tool, not an obstacle. I make working hard seem easy and giving up impossible. I make an old subject feel like a fresh thought and unconventional methods common. I'm a teacher. I make more.
Hi, my name is Mia, and you're watching Cardinal Television.
Welcome back to Fisher Football Focus. I'm joined now by defensive line coach Nick Brace, and we're happy to have you on, Coach Brace. So I've had Jordan Andrews on the show a few weeks ago. Just spoke with Jake Kulig. What do you think about your D-line, the players you've had on your D-line this year?
Well, James, first off, thank you for having me. And as far as the D-line's concerned, I think we have some great guys. They're a bunch of hard workers. They're willing to get their nose in there and do the tough things that a lot of guys aren't willing to do. And I think that's pretty evident by some of the play we've had the past couple weeks here. I'm pretty proud of those guys.
Your D-line, your team has put up 17 sacks so far this year. Is that a testament to the play of your guys on the line, or some of Coach Fox's schemes, or a little bit of both? Like, what do you think has led to that success?
I definitely think it's a combination of both. Coach Fox, first and foremost, very smart coach. I had the opportunity to play for him here. And this season, we've made some changes. We went from a 3-man front to a 4-man front. I definitely think we're seeing the results of that. As far as getting the sacks, the coach can get you in the right position, but it really comes down to the player continuing with that motor and getting in there, working their hands, get those going, and getting to the quarterback. So, between the combination of the scheme and the player's hard work, I think we're in good shape.
So last week I talked to Coach Gacchetti about what he preferred as an O-line coach, having a team with a strong running game or a strong passing game. So from your perspective now as a D-line coach, going against another team, would you rather be facing a team that has a strong passing attack or a team that prides himself on running the ball? Like, what's easier to defend as a coach?
Well, that's tough. Those are two very opposite heads of the coin there. As a defensive coach, first and foremost, you always want to stop the run. You stop the run, you slow down the clock a little bit, you get your offense some more possessions, more opportunities to put points on the board. But if you have a team who can move the ball on you down the field passing-wise, that's really not good either. Give up big plays here and there. That's a tough thing to come back from and put your offense in tough situations. So, I can't say one way or the other. I would prefer we stop the run, but I'll deal with what we have to deal with.
So you are one of many coaches that I've spoken to this season and that are on the coaching staff that are now coaching with Coach Fosberg, but also played under him. You graduated here in 2011, played here. How has your relationship with Coach changed from that as him as your coach to now being a colleague with him?
Coach Fosberg's a great guy. And, the first time I ever met him, he was recruiting me out of high school. Sat down, had the opportunity to come here and play for him. He was a great guy, always a lot of leadership, guidance, and he's really grown into be kind of a father figure. He provides a lot of opportunity and always willing to teach and give you something to learn more about. To be honest, I probably wouldn't be coaching now if I hadn't met Coach Fosberg and I hadn't had the opportunity to play under him and under his tutelage. And he got me my first job in coaching last year at Mansfield, so he's a great guy.
I was just going to get into that. You graduated in 2011, and now this is your first year back here at Fisher as a coach. What kind of brought you back here to be a coach?
I came back because honestly I love the game, and that's something that I kind of learned from Coach Fosberg, and he gave me the hope and mentality that you can make this a career if it's what you want to do, and you just have to work hard enough at it. So when I had the opportunity to come back here, I had spent last year at Mansfield, which he actually helped me get that job. And then I had the opportunity to come back, so I had to take it. Family's family.
What do you see in your coaching future? I know this is only your second year coaching, still recently fresh graduate. Where do you see yourself going from here?
You always want to go up. Stay aggressive with the movements, but coach is one of those things where it's more opportunity driven. So it's hard for me to say where I'm going to be or what I'm going to do, but I'm pretty confident if I continue following the path that coaches like Coach Vaz and Kramer and Fox have set forth for me, I should be all right.
What's your ideal spot 10 years from now?
10 years from now? I would say I'd like to be a head coach, if not a defensive coordinator. And I'd like to be somewhere, probably in the Northeast here. My family's from around here, so I don't go too far. But if not, I'd love to go south, Florida or Texas, something like that, where football is a little more big time, if you will. So
on top of being the defensive line coach for the varsity team, your other titles being the defensive coordinator for the JV team, and we've never really touched on the JV team on this program yet. Can you talk a little bit about what that program means, especially to the varsity guys, like what it means to have that team to help develop guys?
Oh, absolutely. I think the JV team and the program we have here is something really special. Not all schools offer that, and it is something special for our team to do that. It gives the young guys an opportunity to come out and show us what they can do. They're guys who come in and work hard, giving our offense a look, our defense a look, and then they have an opportunity to come out on Sundays and perform and show us that they know how to play, that they know the playbook, and that they can execute. And you get to see flashes of brilliance in some future players who are going to do big things. I take a look at the defense we have now. We got guys like DeMar Nelson, Derek Morrell, Kramer. Just guys who are going to make plays and going to grow in this program to be great things for us in the future.
So next week you have Alfred State. Not the best team. They've given up 21 sacks this year. Last season, when Fisher played Alfred State, Fisher had 4 sacks and gave up only -4 yards rushing, so actually forced them back. What do you see as a defensive coach that you're going to be able to take advantage of this week?
I think we need to take advantage of our strengths, and I think that lies in with our D-line and some of our secondary guys with their speed. I think this is a game that's going to give us an opportunity to really build our confidence and show our dominance. If we don't do that, I think we'll end up coming up short. I think that we have some high expectations as far as what we were able to accomplish last year and where we're at as a team right now. So.
All right. Well, thank you very much for being on, Coach. We're happy to have you. You're welcome back anytime, and good luck this weekend.
Thank you, James. Thank you for having me.
That's all the time we have for this edition of Fisher Football Focus. Be sure to check back next week as the Cardinals take on the Alfred State Pioneers. For Cardinal Television, I'm James Bailey. Catch you next time.